Please, please, please do not allow anybody pressure you in this country. Do you hear me? Not your spouse, not your friends, not your colleagues, not your neighbors. Do not allow anybody pressure you in this country. That's why you have me to give you the best advice ever. All right. And on this video, I'm giving you yet another interesting advice, which are the 3 worst purchases you can ever make as an immigrant in Canada or any other Western world for that matter. Okay? Hi Mumsies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you, thank you, thank you. What can I do without you? You are the best. And if you're new, you are welcome. My name is Lady Teresa, aka the Money Goddess. I'm an African living in Canada, and I have made it my mission to educate as many moms as possible who are living in Canada to live the best life without stress, without hustle, and still achieving all their dreams. Okay, and on today's video we are going to talk about the 3 worst purchases you can ever make as an immigrant to Canada, and I must say to any other Western world, if I say so myself. All right, and we'll jump right in. The first worst purchase you can ever make in this country is buying an expensive home. Let me allow it to sink in. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying if you're a house lover, you love to buy big houses and all that, it's all good. But I just want you to listen to me and just hear my own point of view. All right. Now, in the past, I noticed that, okay, big houses were a thing in the past, but we've never sat down to ask ourselves why. Why was, having a big house a big deal? It was because in the old days, especially Africans, we had a large family. We all, most of us come from a large home, 4 children, 5 children, 6 children, so building a big house was more functional than even just you trying to hype yourself. But that thing has continued in the African mentality that you come here and you are ready to buy a home, and you end up buying a massive house sitting on 2,500 square feet. And you look at that family, that is a family of father, mother, and 2 children. And you're ready to buy a house, and you're buying a house, a huge house. You're paying a lot of mortgage. I hear what people pay as mortgage, and I'm like, I don't get it. People are paying $4,000 as mortgage, what they are paying every month, $4,000. So are paying much more than that. And you look at this family, it's a very small family. This is not your home country where you're gonna have house help or you're gonna have family come over or things like that. This is abroad. Okay, it's just gonna be you, your spouse, your children. If you have 2 children and with you and your spouse, why are you buying a house with 6 rooms or a house with basement and everything, right? And this thing is a huge expense. It takes a huge chunk of your salary. Like I said, some people are paying $4,000 as mortgage. It takes a huge chunk of your salary. If you're a 2-income household, imagine that's a lot of money that could have gone into some other things. But like I said, there are some exceptions to this case. So don't just say, Lady T said we should not buy fine house or we should not buy big house. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, make sure that you're not just buying it to impress. Make sure you're not just buying it just as a habit. Make sure you are buying it from a functional point of view, from a logical point of view. Now, some other people tell me something like, I bought it so that I can rent out a part of it or rent out the basement. And that kind of brought back something, right? So in where we are, in the apartment where we are, my young children, they are running all over the house and things like that, and we're always so conscious, like, stop running, there are people living under you, stop running, we have neighbors under, and so in my head I have always wanted to move to our own place, which we're getting to, and you're like, I don't have to have that self-consciousness of, oh, you are disturbing people under you. And then you now want me now to come and buy house again and come and rent under and start be telling my children again, stop running, there is somebody under you, stop running, there's somebody under you. So that's what I'm saying about you making decisions based on where you are and what you're looking for. Don't just make a decision because other people are making the decision. If you want to have rental properties, you can still buy a house that suits the size of this family, and you can buy an apartment somewhere you want to rent. And trust me, you will still save more money than buying that humongous house. I see some houses, and most of these houses belong to Africans in Canada. And I'm like, what is this competition? Like, I don't get it. This is not, most of us, maybe you're not even citizens yet. So what is really the driving force to this purchase that people are making? Because I was dragging myself with that mindset until gradually I kind of started telling myself, I started giving myself brain, like, I don't get it though. Why are you doing it? What do you value? Right? What do you value? I started asking myself and, having that conversation with my spouse, like, what is important to us? Is it living in a big house? Because I thought about it. I said, okay, if I have a house where I'm paying mortgage of maybe 2,000 or less, that extra 2,000, we can use that for travel, which is a big part of our life and a big part of our value, right? So that when I say, I'm not saying everybody should go and buy a small house, but I want you to sit down and ask yourself, what are your values? What are the things that are fun? Remember what we talked about. If you've not watched my video on budgeting, please go and watch it. Nobody gets fulfilled or gets joy by expenses. You can never derive joy from buying the things that you need. Paying mortgage. So at the time you pay that mortgage, I have never seen anybody rejoicing because they paid mortgage. It doesn't give you joy. It's not fun. But traveling is fun. So if I have to cut down on the amount I'm paying for mortgage and use that other one to build memories, that will make better sense for me. So if you are like me, think about it that way as well. So that's why I call it the worst purchase number one. It doesn't mean anybody who is buying a big house have made a worst purchase, but I'm telling you, if you're like me, if you think like me, then consider that the worst purchase number one in this country that you can ever make. So if you haven't made that mistake yet, I'm hoping that this video came in at a perfect time so you can, think through it before you make that decision. All right. Now let's move to worst purchase number 2. Can you guess? And that worst purchase is expensive clothing or fashion. All right. Why do I call it the worst purchase number 2? Now, there will always be exceptions when I talk about these things. There are exceptions, all right? So don't get me wrong. There will always be exceptions. And in this case, the exceptions are people who derive, like, if fashion is part of your business, there are people that they need to dress up based on what they do. So if you are that person, then this is not a worst, it's not a bad purchase for you, okay? But I'm talking about those who are just doing it just to belong, who are just doing it just to feel among. If you are spending a whole lot on clothing, fashion, it's one of the worst purchases you can ever make. In fact, the money on these things can actually help you live a more fulfilling life. Now, like I said, there are exceptions. So if you can tie buying those clothes or wearing those clothes, if you can tie it, if you can almost call it an investment, then it's not a bad purchase. I'm talking about those who are the clothing, buying clothes is just an expense. It's not any form of investment. You're just buying. And let me tell you why I chose this as the worst purchase number 2. Canada, for example, we have seasons. And if there's one thing I have learned, for example, the winter boots I wore last winter. That's the winter before this last one that just passed. I couldn't wear these boots this last winter. I don't know why. I just felt like it's a new winter, so let's get new clothes. There's always that feeling like it's a new season. The only constant outfit I really have are my summer clothes, like my regular clothes, because these are my summer clothes. But you see, winter, I just feel like I just shall wear what I wear, because the whole idea is you're protecting yourself. You don't want to get cold. It's not like you're going anywhere. It's not like you have one fashion event. It's not like you even have any event. You're just trying to manage for how many months until that time goes. So imagine now spending all your money. Imagine that you are spending all your money on fashion. What really is that doing for you? What is it doing for you? It may give you temporary gratification, like the shopaholics that some of us are. It might give you that temporary gratification, but on the long run, you realize that 2 years from now, you realize that some of these purchases were like seriously the worst purchase you can think of. All right, so that's why I call it my worst purchase number 2. And the third one, worst purchase number 3, is also related to the second one of fashion, and that is expensive cars. Like I said, these 3 things, maybe in another country, it might be a big deal to have them. But you see, in this country where I live, I feel like spending a lot of money on these 3 items is almost like you're pouring money into, you're throwing money away, basically, right? So this third one, buying expensive car. People buy these brand new cars. I see people buying 2024, 2025, 2023. We just keep buying and buying and buying. And you realize that, like I said, let's come back again to the weather. That your 2024 car, like nobody notices it. Like it doesn't give any form of, I have said this before, if it is some kind of investment for you, then it's okay. These are the exceptions. See, these 3 purchases, if they are some kind of investment, then you're good to go. But if they are just an expense, they are the worst purchases you can ever think of. All right. Most times people don't even drive their cars most of the time, because during winter you can't even drive it most times. People just want to stay home because they don't want accident. There's a high rate of accidents during winter season because the road is not good. The road is very slippery, and so you now see you've bought that very expensive car that is taking a whole chunk, a whole huge percentage of your salary. I remember someone who I was talking about opening a retirement account, and she was like, no, she's thinking she still has she needs to think of buying a car. I'm like, okay, buying a car, putting money in a retirement account, and you want to choose buying a car over that, buying a car over something that would grow, versus buying a car that you're just going to be putting money. Like the day you buy that car, you are going to be putting money on that car. Even if you did not finance it, because there's something called car insurance, right? So you're going to be putting money in on that car until you stop driving the car. So if it's going to take you 20 to 30 years to stop driving, you are going to be spending on that car for the next 20 years with almost zero. I wanted to say zero ROI, but at least the car is moving you around, right? So if you know that the whole idea is let something move you around, then spending that huge money to buy an expensive car, it's a bad purchase if you are an immigrant living in Canada. All right, now let me break some of these things down so that you don't think that I don't want you to enjoy yourself. If any of this gives you fun, gives you joy, like you don't ever feel bad about it, then this video is not for you. This is just for me to tell you that if something is just a major expense and yet it doesn't give you joy, please stay away from it. Don't do it because your neighbor is doing it. Don't do it because someone is pressuring you to do it. Do it because it gives you joy. It brings joy to you. All right. Now let's look at the car aspect. Do you know that the difference between maybe one car and the next? Maybe you want to buy 2024 of that particular car and there's a 2022 of that particular car. There's a possibility that you might be saving maybe $200 to $400 just by this decision. And that $200 to $400 is monthly. This one is not the one that they'll tell you don't drink coffee. This is not Starbucks coffee. This is not Netflix. And you see people like this, so they will say they don't want to pay for Netflix. The reason they're not paying for Netflix is that they have taken all their money and put inside this kind of thing. And the Netflix that will give them joy, they cannot now do it anymore, right? So that you can actually save $100, $200, up to $400 a month just by the type of car you decide to buy. And that is the kind of money you can actually now use to pay your future self, or use it to actually do things that are fun. Like I said, one major thing that is a key value for me is travel and is takeout, either ordering food in or eating out or any of those things. Those bring me joy. So I'll rather save on that car and use that money to order food and that gives me joy than just paying that money to a finance company just so I can drive around. And in driving around during the winter season, I don't go out that much. And so I am actually not utilizing this huge money that is coming out of my account every single month, right? So these are the 3 worst purchases you can ever think of. But like I said, it doesn't have to be the worst purchase for you, but I'm doing this video for that person who hasn't really decided why they want to get these things. And I want you to use this video to remind yourself, use this video to ask yourself, should I do this? Why am I doing this? Is this important to me? Does it bring me joy? Or am I just doing it to feel among? Am I just doing it to keep up with the Joneses? Am I just doing this because someone is pressuring me? Am I doing this because I'm seeing people doing it? Or am I doing it because I want to? If you're doing it because you want to and because it gives you joy, I hail you. But if you're doing it just because you're succumbing to that pressure, then these 3 purchases will be the worst purchase you can ever make as an immigrant in Canada. Okay, on that note, thank you for watching to the end. If you found value, you know how we do it. Click the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I drop the next video week after week after week. All right, ciao.